Welcome to the Gridiron Insight. I'm your host, Marcus Dent. I got my sidekick, Mikhail Stevens, and we got some special guests in the house tonight. Before we get started, man, just want to wish everybody a happy New Year's. I got my man, Jason Watkins from the Hall of Fame. Hey, y'all need to get over there and check him out. We're going to drop some stuff down in the comments, man, let you know where you can find him at. And then I got my man, Charles Smith. Big Charles, what's going on with you, man?
All right. I'm here.
Oh, man, look here. Hey, man, look, 2025, first show of 2025, guys. A lot of things can happen in this playoff system, but something happened a couple of weeks ago. We did a show called The Evolution of Football. And my man, Jason down here, man, he watched the show, he got into it. He was like, look, man, you got to have me on, man, So I've been promising him he's going to be on the show, man. He has me on all the time. So, man, we finna get into it, man. So, it's just everybody just kick your shoes off, man. Hey, go grab your favorite drink because we're going to talk a little bit about it tonight. You feel me? Yeah. So, I'm ready. Jason, man, how's it going, Jason? How you feeling, bro?
Hey man, I'm feeling good. I tell you, that show that you guys did, I was trying to throw it out there for everybody to watch it because I think it's one of the best things I've seen in a while. Great topic, great. There's a lot of stuff to be talked about when it comes to how this game evolves. And, it always seems like it's the end of the world for everybody. It feels like, Marcus, the end of college football, but except that the money keeps flowing, and so I don't feel like it's the end. So I definitely wanted to come in. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh man, no doubt. Tell them before we get started, man. Tell them where they can find you at, bro.
Yeah, you can find me at Hall of Fame College Football. It's at HOF-CFB right here on YouTube, and then JW_HOF on Twitter. All
right, man. Y'all give them a like, smash, all that good stuff. While we got you, guys, go ahead and hit that subscribe channel. It doesn't cost you anything, man. Go ahead and hit it. Hit the like button. It'll help us out. Charles, tell them where they can find you at, man, all your social media sites, bro.
Oh, yeah, of course. You can check me out on Instagram, Charles H. Smith, Charles Anthony Smith to be exact. And that's kind of my main thing now. I just did a little switch over to Blue Sky, but I don't have that right. But you can look me up, Charles A. Smith, on that as well.
All right, man. Appreciate you, man. Mikhail, man, tell them where they can find you, brother.
On IG, Mikhail313, and on X, Mikhail, the number 7, and MILE.
That's him. That's the man right there. Look, guys, look. There's a lot of things going on. We just saw the first, I don't know how to say this, but this college playoff thing, man, they done messed it up, I guess as good as they can mess it up, in my opinion. Yeah. I'm being honest with you, man. And everything takes some time. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to 100% just bash everything they have done, but this thing was happening right now started back years ago. And Charles, we talked about that.
Yes.
We talked about, how, college football has came from Navy and Army being two of the top schools, top programs in college football, man. So if you don't mind, just take us back, man, just a little brief summary, man, of bring us up to speed to where we are right now so we can kind of go a little heavy on this topic.
The sport was wrapped up in the college football game. People were big fans, and they listened to it on radio, and it was the Notre Dames, the Armies, and the Navies, and they were the powerhouses, and the Michigans and USC, and those schools had the voice of the sport, and that's the way it kind of moved about. And for a long time, those were the power schools, and those were the ones that won the championships. I was looking through with this movement of Notre Dame in the last game. We look back on it; they have won 11 national championships.
That's a lot.
30s,
that's
40s,
a lot.
50s. That's a lot. And then all of a sudden, they did not win many. And then I think the last one they won was in 1988. You know, so now the way that the sport has changed, I'm beginning to see how the whole thing plays out. And that is the way that it's evolving in the way that NFL evolved, with the way that the development of the NFL. And they started with, there were two owners and two big power teams. That was the Chicago Bears and the Cleveland Browns. And, you know, it was all about those two teams, and they were beating up everybody and winning all the championships. Mm-hmm. But they needed to create a manner to build that. They understood that they were going to build their business of pro football. They had to expand it. So they created a system of parity, because they were getting all the best players and they were winning everything. But
Alabama, Georgia, keep going,
and create this place that other teams had access and opportunity to the sport. And it worked. And in that system, it's kind of interesting the way it works out economically, because they understood that by creating a place of a wide role of capitalism, that they used a little bit of socialism in their own place to create balance among all these teams. Where we are now is the same thing in college football. You're seeing parity. Alabama's not the monster that it's been in the last years. They didn't run 3 and 4 deep. You know, LSU is not the monster that they win. They're running 3 and 4 football players deep, and they're playing this NIL and this transfer portal thing changed everything, especially that transfer portal. It created a place of parity. Look at the way Notre Dame played the other night. Look at the way.
Oh man, I want to talk about it.
It's insane. And what that did was that set it up. And I kind of pattern this after the way Major League Baseball works out. You've got your Power Four with about 70 football teams all together, mm-hmm. that controls the world. And then you've got all these other schools who are just like farm clubs in the baseball.
And that's pretty much what we are right now with that.
You have turned it into the final FBS teams that are not in those top teams are basically becoming the top level farm clubs. And then you work your way all the way down to FCS. And that's where you are. You get the early stages of being in that what you could call the level 3 baseball teams.
That's right.
So they have created a system, and it's a financial system where the ones who sitting on top gonna have all the resources.
Well, let me
just gonna be basically
let me ask you guys this, and I'm gonna kind of direct this toward Jason. Jason, you know, as a Sooner. As a Sooner dad, and you as a Sooner fan, there were a time, and we're not far from it. Don't get me wrong. There were a time that you did not have to fight certain schools for a kid. We're not in that time right now. Would you agree?
Well, not at the moment, but I don't think it's going to last very long the way that it is. I would tell you that the way that it's going right now, because the NIL has definitely been a great equalizer for the moment, I think. But that's because they haven't had the revenue share. Now that the money's starting to kick in from these television networks, ESPN and Fox, and you have the Big Ten and the SEC, along with Notre Dame, making the lion's share of money there, right? So on top of that, the old the big boys that we call them, the blue bloods and
the blue bloods, baby,
the big brands, they're the ones that are going to continue to be able to stay on top. I think that right now you're not able to stack 4 or 5 deep.
No,
I don't know that you ever necessarily go back to that.
No.
But what you will do is some of these guys that you're going other places and things like that. If you're not one of those teams that's getting into the playoffs every year and going to be getting the most exposure, I don't know that that's going to last very long, because there's a discrepancy of about $40 to $50 million in revenue coming from ESPN to the Big 12 versus the SEC, and the same with the ACC for that matter. Coming from ESPN. Then the Big 10, they're getting even a little bit more than the SEC is, and it's about the same for Notre Dame. So the difference that I see is that, okay, you're getting 40 million less. Let's say it's 40 million less right now. Everybody's got to pay the same amount to those players under the revenue share for the college football playoff. But they've made it known throughout the court system, even the Supreme Court said, you cannot mess with the player's ability to transfer because of their ability to make money through NIL. And the NIL is untouchable when it comes to NCAA and the conferences. They want this to be where
that's untouchable. They won't. We're not going back that way.
Correct. And that's what I'm saying is you're not going to see that happen anymore. And so because of the fact of, let's say a Big 12 school that makes $100 million in revenue every year, right? They spend about 90 million of that and just to do what they do, coming up to this year. Moving forward, now they're going to be paying $22 million in revenue share to the players throughout, all the athletes in the school or whatever. $22 million. That's one thing for Alabama or Notre Dame to do that because they have that money anyway. Plus, they're getting 100 million, upwards of 100 million a year. I think it's 75 right now, but it's gonna escalate throughout.
Oh, it's gonna keep going up. It's gonna keep going up. So, in that retrospect, let's talk about the recruit. And I got Markel right here. He has a son that has an offer from Ohio State, one of the teams that's in the playoffs. So
lots of loot,
man. So as a parent, Markel, let me ask you this: how does all that play in to your part of your recruiting with your son? How much of that are you looking at? Is your son going to be able to play right away? What kind of things that you and him are talking about right now when it comes to choosing a school?
Man, the conversation changes every hour, right? So
most definitely.
1 minute we're looking at it and we're saying we got to get it right the first time. We want to go to the right school. We don't want to transfer. We want to get there. We want to be locked in. We want to early enroll in December or January of his graduating year, and be in position to, contribute as a freshman, so to speak. So we're watching rosters, those type of things, and also just on the education side, what are these universities doing as far as their yearly trip? Are we going to Paris as a team for some type of culture and bonding? We're looking at those type of things where it's not just strictly football, but it's also some other developments going on with the student athlete, the alumni. What kind of alumni will you go into? And football aside, when you graduate, what are your opportunities as a businessman or a doctor or a lawyer? So we're looking at an array of things. But football-wise, we're looking to where we can contribute as early as possible, because let's just be real, the goal is the NFL.
That's true.
We want to get the education.
That's the goal.
But the goal is the NFL. And, the money is out there in college, but you got to be careful about the money because you don't want to make that your deciding factor and shortcut yourself for the long-term money, which is the NFL money. Although there's really no limit in your 3 to 4 years of college on how much you can make with the NIL.
It's not.
So, and to go off of what Jason was saying, it looks like to me that the SEC and the Big Ten will eventually in the future gobble up the ACC and the Big 12, and then there'll only be 2 conferences standing at the end of the day.
But let me, for me, I see that coming, and maybe in the next, I want to say 5 to 8 years. But we got to go back and we talking about the evolution of college football. And the things that you just said, I'm finna go back to what Nick Saban did when Mal Moore hired him in 2007. So Nick Saban put together a model. And his model was, if you come play for me, I'm going to teach you how to be a businessman. I'm going to teach you how to prepare for life after football. I'm going to, get you ready for the NFL. And that worked. until Kirby Smart went to Georgia. And when Kirby went to Georgia, all the things that Nick had, built that program with, Kirby took those same things to Athens. And then other coaches start going different places. So football is at a place right now that, the parity is so strong. And I talked about this on the first part. I believe that's one reason why Nick Saban got out and Bill Belichick came in, because Bill Belichick said, okay, y'all want to treat this like an NFL model. I've been in the NFL. I've won Super Bowls. So kids, come play for me. I can show you how to be a professional. I can show you how to, take care of your money. I can teach you everything that the NFL offers. I can teach you before you ever get there. And that's his calling card right now. That's his calling card. But we're seeing how football has come so far from the days of Navy being the team. Notre Dame, when I was a little kid, being that team. Michigan, I remember in Mississippi, hell, we couldn't even see Mississippi State or Ole Miss on TV. It was Notre Dame and Michigan and Ohio State.
Every game, every weekend.
Every damn weekend. That's who we saw. Mm-hmm. So, but now you got the money is involved. Now you got the money is involved. You talking about let's take Giovanni Gibson from UAPB that's going to Oklahoma. There were 3 or 4 Giovanni Gibsons on every team in the SWAC in 1988 when I first started playing. High level skills. So guess what happened? School started getting those kids. Football has changed over a period of time. There's nothing we can do about it. You got all these folks out here crying about, well, they shouldn't get paid. Well, damn, if you go to work every day, you want to get paid. But no, don't get me wrong, guys. There should be guardrails. You shouldn't, the NFL, you can't be a free agent every year in the NFL. And I get it. And Jason, man, I'm gonna let you handle those super chats, man. When you get ready, just holler at me, man. We'll get them. But what I'm saying is that model that Nick Saban used is everywhere in the country. Everybody's going on trips. We call it the Soul Mission at Oklahoma. Somebody else might call it something else. All this stuff that they did to get those kids prepared. So the years of you stacking 4-star, 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 4-star is gone. I don't give a damn who you are. You might stack 4-star, 4-star, 3-star. You ain't stacking 4-4-4. I don't care what program you got in the country. You're not doing that because of the NIL.
But isn't that great for football across the board? I mean,
I think it is.
Absolutely.
It's great to see a Notre Dame in this position. It's great to see, any school on any given Saturday, can show up out of nowhere and have access and opportunity because because of transfer portals and I'm not even going to put so much of it on NIL because I think the rich are going to be the rich. And that means those top 70 football teams who are in those power leagues are going to benefit from that. But that transfer portal in reference to those top programs put some schools who are in those conferences in positions to actually be in these kinds of games. And that's a good thing.
That's true.
Indiana University was a basketball school. And
they're actually just riding the coattail of the Big Ten. Well, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Damn, Indiana shouldn't have had their ass in no damn playoffs. Indiana is what's that comedian say? They trash.
Well, yeah,
they freaking trash, man.
But it was a good thing, and in terms of viewership,
I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that, bro.
All your team trash.
Trash.
We can talk about how much of a trash they are, but at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, it is about those top programs. Because the reason we have all these conferences jumping, you got a West Coast school playing in the ACC and all this other craziness was about viewership on television. Who is it that we can sit down in front of a TV and watch this football game? I mean, that's what that whole thing is about. That's why they're playing it in the way the NFL does.
Well, I get it. Okay, I get it. Okay, at Boise State. You got the darlings of what everybody call them.
Right.
But man, Boise ain't got no business being in there no more than a man in the moon. I'm just being honest with you, bro. Because you let these teams go play in these weak conferences, then you come in and say, okay, I'm going to let Boise in. Do you think Boise could have beat Ole Miss?
No, but but
I'm just saying.
I think it's a good thing because we get an opportunity to take away the argument, meaning that when they don't play, someone's screaming about give them a chance, give them a chance, give them a
okay,
chance.
we gave them a chance this year. So do we give them a chance next year?
Well, probably not. Probably not.
Do we give them a chance next year?
It's going to end up on how those schools get ranked. Now they're learning. Remember, now this is a first year opportunity. This is the first time, a first go round. So they're going to have to work out the process.
So I'm saying, Charles, they're probably going to keep their asses ranked around 15 and 16.
And they won't make it.
That's what. Oh, they had to figure the shit out now. So what they probably do, that's okay. We're going to keep them around 15, 16, so they won't get in.
Exactly.
But you got these damn automatic bids. The ACC over here, they buy like Kool-Aid with no sugar. They weak as hell.
Yeah, I know, but hey, that's what you got to do. They are part of the big boys. That's a power four. So that's the way that goes.
So as things change, as the Michigan and Ohio States and all that kind of stuff, all those kind of teams keep building. Let's go to Mississippi State. Mississippi State, they can play baseball.
Right.
They can play girls basketball.
Yep.
But would Mississippi State ever be able to compete? So
they will because of the fact that they're getting so much more money, Marcus. That's the thing, is that right at this moment right now, the SEC and the Big Ten, that was where I was headed with this, is that the NIL right now has been a great equalizer. But now the NIL is going to be added to, and it's all some schools can do. You've got Texas Tech jumping in and paying some certain players here and there and stuff. They're going out and making sure that they make a big investment. But now that as I said, you say a Big 12 team that makes, I think Texas Tech made like 130 this year. But if they're giving away 20 of it and it costs 110 to run their programs, right? Now you're gonna have to ask the donors to kick in this cash. That's not a problem in the SEC. That's not a problem in the Big Ten, particularly at certain schools. It's definitely not a problem at a place like Notre Dame, where they have a $20 billion endowment. And that's not going to be. So this is where can Mississippi State compete? Absolutely, because Mississippi State is going to be getting $40 million extra in TV revenue than what an ACC school, even like Florida State or Clemson's getting. So as you move along in this thing 3-4 years down the line, they're going to make adjustments on how they select the certain teams going in there. But in the end, what's going to end up happening is that there's no way that you're going to start seeing these adjustments being made on how do you do when you get there. The G5 schools are probably going to, I think their days in the tournament are numbered. I'll just be honest with you. I think their days
in other words, the G5 schools are going to turn basically into what the HBCUs turned into.
I think so too. Well, and I think that right now, because of the fact that you can transfer though, and you've got this new, I was hoping you'd bring this up too at some point, was you've got this new deal with JUCO. Because you brought this up.
We were getting to that.
Yeah, and so now I think you're going to start seeing more of it being kind of a farm system in the G5 plus the JUCO and that kind of stuff. FCS like the SWAC and the MEAC and stuff are going to start feeding into these bigger programs, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. It kind of depends on how you look at it. But the problem is that unless they do get to where they swallow up the entirety of the ACC and the Big 12, and I'll just be honest with you, I don't think that the SEC is in any hurry to do such a thing. I think they want to dominate them.
Well, you brought up the JUCO ranks, and we're right here in Mississippi that has one of the largest. We got 13 JUCOs or something like that. What's going to happen is once you go there and you play your 2 years or whatever the situation is, the big boys coming to get you because you've been 2 years in a college system. So, Markel, let's just say, man, what's a big time JUCO? Well, East Mississippi, they've been strong, but they're not as strong as they used to be. But what if somebody came and said,
Blinn Junior College?
Let's say Blinn. Let's just say we want Markel to come play for us for a year or 2 years instead of him going to Ohio State and redshirting. And y'all got to deal with Ohio State. He goes there. It's almost like a prep school with what they're finna turn it into. Football is for changing people. Strap your boots, get your bootstraps, strap everything up tight because the game is changing. So if somebody say, look, I want him to come play for me for 2 years. This is Ohio State saying that. Or Florida saying that. Look, we got him. We got some kind of contract. We got him. Go play here 2 years or a year, and he can come to us and still have 4 years, 5 years to play 4. How appealing is that to you?
I'm not sure. It's more choices out here. You got to be careful not to chase the logo. But I don't know. But what I can tell you is the foundation of college football is still high school football. And the
I disagree.
Well,
I disagree.
Where do you get the players come from high school.
But you're seeing more and more kids at the P4 and the G5 level coming from the portal. Although, they originated from high school. They got to originate from somewhere, but they're not getting these kids at the rate they were 3 to 4 years ago. It is crazy how many kids in Mississippi that is not going to get a scholarship for the simple fact that they're not coming to get them.
But the top-notch high school kids are going to go to four-year universities. That's your culture. That's your foundation. You have to have that. You can't build a program off of JUCOs and transfers. So you're still going to get the top-class kids. The wake-up call is on parents and student athletes to be ready for college coming out of high school. That's true. The wake-up call.
That's true. I agree with you on that.
I can't hear his volume.
I can't hear you. Your mic.
Sorry about that. Yeah. No, I said I agree with part of what you said, Michael, and part of what you said, Marcus, because I think in the end, right now, we're getting some static. Man.
Yeah, I got it. Hold on 1 second.
Right now, I think that the best programs are still building they're building their rosters from the ground up with their high school kids, and you have to do that, right? I think that the culture, everything is going to start there. But I think what you're going to start seeing is the 4 and 5 star guys are always going to they're going to go to the big programs immediately, right? The top 100s, top 250s, even whatever. They're going to continue to do that. But you might end up being able to go to a JUCO or a smaller school and make a little bit more money and get an opportunity to play quicker, which I think they may start steering some of those guys that are the lower 3 stars and dropping further than that. After your top 500 or whatever, you're going to probably start seeing some of that. So I think that there's a possibility with that. But the foundation of these big programs is always going to be on the high school game. I think that's the one thing is that, I've got Timothy Green in here talking about how give everybody the same amount of money. Make no mistake. None of these changes were made with the idea of parity in the NFL. That's not what they want.
That's not what they want.
They don't want fair. They want the big dog programs want to continue to be the big dog programs and make all that money. Don't get it twisted.
Absolutely.
That's true. That's true. Hey, continue this, man. I got to step away for 1 second. Continue on, guys. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Y'all go ahead. Continue.
Jump in, Robert. You're muted.
My thing is these large programs are going to continue to do what they do. I don't, it's kind of like changing, parts on the page that those I gotta say the top 70, they're always going to be where they're going to be. And among those top 70 is going to be those top 20. They're always going to be where they're going to be. And the only reason the parity even showed up was because the student athletes decided to sue and they won their case. It's like we need to get revenue based on who we are, and we need access, and we need change in our life to give us an opportunity to play the game. And now they're forced into parity, and that's all fine and dandy. It's not like it was a choice when the old NFL, where they made a conscious choice. Those schools got doing that. But when you look at the history of the NCAA, they have always done that. They have always used student athletes to the max to build wealth for that. I mean, starting from almost day one. And now the world has been turned upside down because the system now says that you have to take care of these student athletes. You have to give them access and opportunity. Because why am I going to make that much money off your back? When you look at the history of America, you think about that. That's kind of crazy. So I'm all for these students getting their fair share of the pie.
Oh yeah.
To go along with getting, it's like, well, you're getting a free education and you should take that. No, you don't. No one goes to work on any given day. If somebody walked up to me tomorrow and says, Charles, I need you to switch jobs and I'm going to pay you X dollars. I love JSU. Lord knows I love Jackson State. But I promise you that check coming, I'm going. That's the way that goes. So why would you expect these students to do otherwise? Same thing with these coaches. It makes no sense for a coach to get paid $10 million a year, and then your students are walking around and they have absolutely nothing.
Mikey, come close this door.
So basically we're in a situation where we're observing these movements and these changes. I think it's going to all level itself out. It's just that it's going to level itself to a place where those top programs are going to continue to get what they get. But I'm interested to see what happens to everyone else in this process. What happens to what happens to these smaller FBS programs of the Southern Misses of the world, and what happens to HBCUs of this world and FCS schools of this world, and how they're going to, the roles that they'll play in this process. And if you're smart, how smart are you as a coach when you're at a smaller program to learn how the system operates and benefit from that system to build programs at your schools? I think that is become something that's going to be vitally important. And that is, you cannot sit here and talk about how screwed the system is. How well are you going to manipulate and use the system to the benefit to make your programs attractive? You have your own fan base. You have your own cultural identity. So how is it you're going to make that work for you? And that's all going to depend on how crafty you are as a coach and an administrator. Because these institutions have to show their viability every single day on all levels of the institution. Because at the end of the day, these colleges are here to educate people and put folk out on the street. So how and make them viable citizens. So it's not only just about football, basketball, baseball, or whatever sport. It's about basically making sure that we create an environment for systems. And there's never going to be fairness in the system where you think that big corporation is going to give a small school their fair share. That's not the way capitalism works. Capitalism works to the manner of I invest where I'm going to make my most money. That's how that goes.
Well, I think it's a lot of pressure on schools in the ACC and the Big 12. I guess they're going to take these next 5 to 10 years to audition to possibly get plucked to the Big 10 or the SEC. That's the way I see it. Those programs like the Texas Techs, the Utahs, the Colorados, the Oklahoma States, those programs are trying to get acceptance with the big boys. And they have beautiful facilities. They have the resources, but do they have enough to compete regularly with Big 10 and SEC?
Well, I'll say this. They are, my thing is they are one coach away and one administrator away from being able to compete on those levels because they have the resources. They're playing, they're in the game. They're there. They don't have to build up because they are benefiting from this insane amount of revenue that's floating through. I mean, Colorado at the end of the day is a state university and a big state university. They have what kind of benefactors do they have in their institutions and how much they're willing to invest in their institutions to make them competitive. That is the thing. See, I don't really put a big difference between a Colorado and a Texas Tech and an Alabama or whatnot. Those are big universities with gigantic resources. They just are not known for being great at football.
Can I ask you a question though, Charles? Yeah. How long is that going to be the case when there's a discrepancy of $40 to $50 million in revenue share over, say, a 4-year period? They're talking about $200 million in difference in what you can use to bolster your roster, to make your – and I know that a lot of kids don't care a whole lot right now at this very moment about facilities, for instance.
Right.
Some places have to build up to a point to where they'll get to where Alabama is, and like even Texas Tech, they've added – some stuff to their campus, I know, and to their athletic department, but they're never gonna. It's gonna be a while before they can even catch up to like Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama. Even
I guess my thing is here's the thing that I see about that is, I mean, I get what you're saying that those top programs do have this new measure of wealth. But ultimately, that wealth is, I can't stand the word trickle down, but they're on the playing field to the point where that's who they're competing against on Saturdays. You're playing those kinds of schools. So that means you will benefit from that. You are a D1 program that you're not, the ACC is going through trials and tribulations and trying to basically create something for themselves. You're right. Big Ten, the Big Ten and the SEC have the big, giant, crazy, don't make no sense kind of contracts because those are big football conferences. But my thing is those other institutions on the other side of the fence will find at some point in time, they're going to level in because the Big Ten and the SEC have to have somebody to compete with beyond each other. They just can't beat each other up, and that just be the end of it.
Well, I think it'll probably end up being about
time,
I think ultimately it'll probably be around 60 schools at the end of the day. See, Florida State is fighting to get out the ACC. Yeah. They want to get out because that $40 million is significant. And it's going to create a gap, and everybody's not going to play,
right?
The Big Ten SEC level ball. I think we're just in the middle phase of a bigger picture.
That's kind of the argument that I'm making. That at the end of the day, this is such an early beginning that it looks like it's just going to be completely unfair. My thing is, I want to see how this plays out over 5 years. I want to see exactly how this levels out, and how long it will last for everybody in the room. Because a few years ago, there was this question that the big television networks, the big networks who had stolen out these big dollars, that they were having problems basically keeping those contracts going because the money was just insane and the viewership wasn't the same. That was the one reason why they started doing all these creative things, and they started moving things around, and these conferences move around, because they're trying to make sure that the viewership is there. You know, to get people interested, to make sure that they want it, because it all comes down to who is watching this stuff on television, because it's about those advertising dollars.
Well, let's take a game like the Rose Bowl, right? Or any of the traditional bowls. They're guaranteed.
Yeah,
like the Rose Bowl is guaranteed. Like, it's a tradition. It's 100-year-old establishment.
right.
And just think, we just had Ohio State and Oregon.
Right.
Normally, that's Pac-12 and Big Ten.
Always
so that tradition is still standing, and it's not going anywhere. It will be factored into whatever changes are being made. The Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl. They will always be factored in, no matter what.
Yeah, but what's so funny about it, because I'm sitting there watching this stuff, and I say, okay, well, the big bowl games are still here, but then I started seeing all these crazy other bowls. You know, the Gala, Barbarian. It's like, what is this? You know, it was just constant bowl changing names that didn't exist before, and teams that nobody knows about playing in these kind of bowls. It's like, well, I guess this is just a part of the change of the guard, and the change of how we're doing business. And at the end of the day, the only bowls that matter, you're right, is the Rose, is the Sugar, and so on and so on, and I think the Gator Bowl and whatnot. But you know, I don't know. I just think it's going to play out in time, and I want to see how the corporate side works out, and who is writing what checks, and how well is ESPN and ABC and you know, or at the end of the day, Disney is going to invest in this whole scenario to keep this thing going, and what kind of viewership is going to keep this thing going, because that's what it's going to come down to.
It will. It's going to come down to that, and that corporate money too, and you know. But I think, you know, and here's this win is a win stuff. Stop it. You got to stop with that stuff, because a win is not even kind of true. And what Marcus was talking about a few minutes ago was what they're doing with this, and what we're going to see them have to essentially make some changes as to what they're doing with the seeding process, and how they're allowing these teams in from certain, you know, I think that automatic berths is one thing, automatic seeds is another. And I think that with the way that this thing was seeded, to act like Texas actually came in. Listen, I'm just going to let my bias hang out here for a second. To act like Texas did the same thing to get into the Final Four as what you had to do at Notre Dame, or what you had to do at Ohio State, is laughable. So don't tell me that a win is a win, because a win isn't a win. And if a win they're making it like a win is a win right now, putting in teams like SMU that didn't beat anybody good. They had 2 quote quality losses, you know, and Marx is coming back in here. They had 2 quality losses. And to me, I don't want to hear anything about how you're going to get parity, because parity is there. And this is one of the things I wanted to ask all you guys is, do you feel like conferences are going to start maybe going away? Because something that I talked about with one of the guys in the chat yesterday, Coach Smook, was that I think that what you're going to end up seeing is, not only is the SEC not going to go to 9 games in its conference schedule because they beat each other up and you kicked them out, you only brought 3 in and put in SMU, and you're putting in a Boise State. Not only are they not going to go to 9, I don't even know that they stick to 8. I think they might end up either going back to 6. I think they might go to 6 and then force the rest of the power conferences to play inter games between each other to decide what these seeds are going to be. And when this happens, that's when you're going to start seeing, if that ends up happening, Marcus, I think that's when you start seeing big separation, because that's where that revenue comes into play, and that extra NIL money that the NCAA can't stop that part. No. They can decide how much your revenue share number is, what's your cap or whatever you want to call it. They can't stop the NIL, and the big dogs are always going to have the NIL. Texas is always going to be able to compete, but to think that anybody is just that right now you're looking at it's a fair, the overrated SEC line is, to me, getting kind of tired because of the fact that nobody's playing the same schedule as each other. So you either have to even up.
I'm sick of that. I am absolutely sick of that BS. You got people in the stands chanting, SEC, but not one of those schools could go through a brutal schedule like Oklahoma did this year, or Florida did, and come out squeaky clean. It's just not going to happen, bro. And that's the thing that I see, the guys in the SEC is going to say, you know what, guys? Hey, we're beating up on each other. We're beating each other damn brains out. Let's find a way to figure this shit out. Either we go back east and west, or we cut down some of these damn games. Mm-hmm. Because guess what? The big networks, they want the big time schools in the damn playoffs. So if you boot them out by them beating up on each other, that's not going to happen, because guess what? They're not going to let you stop their money.
Is it true that they may expand in 26 or 27 to 14 teams in the playoff?
I think it's 16. Is it 14 to 16, Jason?
Could be either that. I think they've talked about 14. They've talked about 16. I think a lot of it's going to depend on how this all works out. If you really look at what it is, I think that let's not make any bones about it. The Big Ten and the SEC want to dominate the selections.
Oh,
period.
No doubt.
End of story. They're the ones, and the reason for that is it's not just the Big Ten and the SEC that want to dominate. ESPN and Fox that want.
I was getting ready to say the corporate guys. That's what they want. Yeah. The corporate
they're
guys
making the decisions,
right? Because they're the ones that's writing the checks.
They make the decisions.
Yeah. Exactly. They make it. They want that revenue. They want that TV viewership.
So let me ask you this: the Pac-12. Let's just take the Pac-12. Let's look at what happened to the Pac-12. Guys, can this happen to the ACC? Can this?
Not under ESPN.
You don't think what happened to the Pac-12 can happen to the ACC?
Well, it depends on how at the end of the day, it depends on how these presidents of these universities decide. Because one of the major reasons why the Pac-12 fell apart was this extremely poor decision making by these college presidents who didn't understand football. They didn't understand the process of it, but all they could understand was they were thinking about their bottom line without thinking about their bottom line. And
but here's the thing, Charles. You got USC president. She don't know shit about football.
That's my point.
But guess what? But she knows finances, and she knew what the money was going to. She knew what money was coming when she went to the Big Ten.
But see, that's the point. She didn't know finances. That wasn't. She did not understand.
Oh, I think she knew finances because they hurry up and made that jump.
Yeah, they did. They did make that jump, but it was just, well, it was on sheer greed, but it was not based on her really understanding the numbers.
I don't think she understand what the numbers were going to be, but I think she did understand that my university needs this damn capital.
Well, of course, because
even flying all over the damn country, they're still going to make money.
Yes.
They're still going to make money. And so she saw it. She jumped on it. They looked at the numbers and said, you know what? Man, we finna get the hell out of here. Mm-hmm. And they left.
And they left.
And guess what? Oregon said, hey, look, bro, we got enough money to wrap the moon. We gone too.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So my situation that I'm looking at right now with these college presidents, you have a president, that president better be a football guy, girl, him, they, whoever they are.
No, a TV exec.
Yeah. Well, but they gotta know finance, bro, when it comes to athletics. They got to.
They have to, but at the end of the day now, I mean, these are institutions of higher learning. You can learn all you want to. Yeah, but the football team keep the doors open at Oklahoma.
the head football coach at Oklahoma got more say so than the damn mayor or the damn governor. The damn governor. I'm telling you that right now. So they keep the doors open, bro.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I know you. Hey, look, I get it, but I'm talking about reality. I'm talking about reality. Where we are right now with college football. The evolution of college football has overtaken education because it's a money machine.
You know,
it's a money machine, bro.
And that is something that's worrisome to me.
Yeah,
that worries when these college sports take over. Well, these institutions exist, you know, especially when you start studying the history of the institutions and what they meant to the overall growth of this country and the development of this country.
Well, let me ask you this: if you take the athletic program, bringing in $300 million, doesn't that help the academic side? Doesn't that help get more scholarships?
No, it doesn't. No.
Well, you tell me why it doesn't.
All right, perfect example. When these programs, let's look at X University, and my man here mentioned that you got $100 million athletic program. You got all this TV revenue coming in. Your school went from a $50 million program to a $100 million program in 10-year period of time. So you got that much money. But guess what? Go and look at the bottom line of these programs with these extremely big budgets. They spend nearly every single nickel of that money every year. Why is that? Why is it that it is? Because you've got 2 sports that generate revenue, and you've got 16 other sports that do not.
Yes.
And part of it is you got to factor in the issue of Title IX, because you have to have equity in athletic programs for women at the same level you have to do at these other institutions. And they're also competing to win. Oklahoma has one of the best softball teams. I watch them every year, and they are awesome. How much money do they bring in? Ain't a whole lot, but they're fantastic sports to watch. You see what I'm saying? That
can't argue with you right there.
So
I can't argue with you right there.
My whole thing is these schools basically operate in deficits, not in surplus. Only a handful of schools actually operate in surplus when they bring in that much wealth. That's insane. So that their impact on the university's overall cash flow is not that great. The university's cash flow comes from so many other places. It comes from the amount of research, these big universities, the amount of research they get from federal government dollars, the amount of enrollment money coming in from these students, and parents writing checks to get their kids through those colleges. And when you start talking Harvard and their insane multi-billion-dollar endowment had nothing to do with athletics. And most of these institutions' endowments have nothing to do with athletics. It has everything to do with the kind of impact they have on their academic side and their business side to create wealth for that institution.
Well, Charles, okay, I got you, and I feel you on that. Okay. I understand the Harvard. I understand
the make a lot more money.
What you're talking about,
but you talking about a totally different part of education.
Hospitals make a lot more money than the football stadium does. That's a guarantee. But that's the whole point, is that, like, that's why the Pac-12 failed, because instead of figuring out what they had to do athletically, they stood up there looking down on everybody in the Big 12, for instance, and thinking that, like, Stanford and Cal holding up things, and USC and UCLA held up things, and even all the way up until they went until they left for the Big Ten, or decided they were leaving for the Big Ten. So the truth is that there is a big separation. It doesn't matter how rich you are, you know, as a university. But, like, say Notre Dame, I know that they give like 1% of their endowment or whatever to the athletic program, which is a large amount of money. $20 billion endowment we're talking about, right? So they're using that per year, but I mean, they're building wealth in other ways, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
But a lot of these schools are looking into private equity as well. And that's probably the future of college football. It's becoming professional.
Well,
So,
I mean,
you hit him below the belt.
that is what it's all about. I mean,
Well,
it is. I mean, we're mimicking that right now. I mean,
Well,
it's
okay.
NIL deals with these kids.
Okay, Jason.
These offers that they're making, it's crazy.
Jason, let me ask you this: the kid from Ohio State, the receiver, what's his name?
Jeremiah Smith.
The freshman, Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah Smith.
Mm-hmm.
When is it going to come a time when Jeremiah Smith said, "You know what? I done played 1 year. I'm ready to go to the NFL, and if you stop me, I'm gonna sue the hell out you."
They tried that before. Hold on now. That was tried before. That doesn't
Maurice
have
Claret.
as much to do. Maurice Claret did that, and it didn't work. The reason why is the NFL can decide whether they're going to take you or not.
Okay.
The NFL can make that choice, and that decision is based upon physicality and your ability to play at that level physically.
Exactly.
So
Okay.
it's not as much about. It's not because look, believe this.
But still, it's still a right to work, is it not?
But
I'm
they
just
have a
asking.
right to whether
Hey, I'm
they
asking.
employ you or not, though. If you're good, believe me, if they thought a true sophomore, was ready to play at the NFL level, and there's probably a few that are from time to time, right? But if they truly thought a true sophomore was ready to go to the NFL at that moment, then they'd allow it, because they're not. Look, don't make the mistake of thinking that the NFL's in the business of keeping college football alive. They could care less. They could care less. The only reason that they have a good little partnership because it works for them that you keep guys around for 3 years or whatever, get them prepared.
NFL, college football is the form league right now for NFL.
It always has been, but it's turning into even more of one now. And I think that if you see the JUCO thing turn into where you can go 2 years to JUCO and still have 4 years at the university, you don't think that the NFL loves that? Because that means that kid is more developed by the time he gets to them.
That's true.
Okay. That you walk right into what I was finna come into. You take a kid that then went to JUCO 2 years. He played 2 years at JUCO, and he comes right back and played 1 year of college football. He's been out of high school for 3 years. Can that kid go to the NFL? Is his body ready to go to the NFL?
Yeah, that kid can go to the NFL. You got to
hold on. He's going to be considered as a freshman. So I don't quote me on the rule. I don't know what the rule is.
3 years
you have to be out of high school so long before you go to the NFL?
3 years out of high school is the rule.
Yeah.
Well, okay, there you go. The NFL is smiling then.
Right.
Because you only going to get 1 year they got.
And another thing too, you also got to factor in the NFL Players Association, because the NFL Players
Association just brought up in here.
Yeah, exactly. That's a pushback right there. Because those players don't want these people coming out of school too early, because that puts their dime in question.
Good.
That's one reason why the Players Association put the top players come out of the league get a certain X amount of salary right out of college, even though they may be the number one choice player in the country.
I think that's
it's like, we're not gonna get no kid fresh out of college. I don't care if he went number one, we're gonna give him $90 million. No, they're not.
Here's the deal, Charles.
Uh-huh.
And I understand what you're saying. I have 2 cousins that played and retired from the NBA. So, but let me ask you this: you got a kid that comes out, he crazy numbers his freshman year in the NFL, crazy numbers. Why shouldn't that kid be able to renegotiate his contract if he meet those numbers? He could put some in his contract and say, okay, if I reach X amount of yards, X amount of passes, I can do that. Look, these college, and the same thing go for college football. This stuff is going to get crazy. You're going to have college guys say, you know what? I mean, high school guys coming in. It's okay, coach. You give me 100,000, but if I bust 1,000 yards this year, that goes up to 300,000. You see what I'm saying?
I think at some point in time,
Everybody want to get paid for their work.
Everybody does want to get paid for their work, and they deserve to get paid what they're worth. But there's always going to be what the economists like to say is those externalities. And that is there are going to be some positive and negative sides of that. That means how much the folks who are giving out the NIL money, those folk, you're asking us to give more money to get these athletes in. Then those guys get together and they say, you know something, we're not going to continue to write these gigantic checks to everybody because we don't have enough resources to get on. We got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. Then the issue, a factor of greed coming in. And that's the economics working itself out in that process.
Charles, that's the NFL
money. I know it, but that's going to be the same thing on this college athletics. It's the same way. That's the way the NFL works. That's the way any company works, and that's the way it's going to ultimately work in terms of the way NIL money works.
So guys, you take a team. Let's take two teams. That's three teams: Alabama, Tennessee, OU. Okay. Let's take three NFL teams. Let's take Tennessee. Let's take Baltimore. Let's say the Cleveland Browns. Okay. When you look at those three teams, do you think Tennessee gonna normally have 100,000 in there? Are the Browns gonna have 100,000 in their stadium?
No.
Okay. What I'm saying is you got certain schools.
Yeah.
You got certain schools that I feel like, and I don't know the exact numbers, so don't nobody quote me on this. There are certain schools that I feel like generate the same number of monies that some of the NFL teams generate.
Okay.
Not all of them, but there are a few. There's got to be a few.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. They got 105 on the roster. Well, NFL doesn't have but a 53-man roster. So I know that. But the minimum pay in the NFL is right at $700K, bro.
Right.
So you have schools that are making a profit that can pay those kids with the TV rights, with the just selling of tickets and apparel and boots and all that kind of stuff without outside guys saying, I got to give you a $40,000 check. There's not a lot. But there are a few. So you talk about all these different things that can happen. We're into year 2 of craziness, and I think we got about another year and a half to go before we see anything level out.
Well, in the short run, it will probably be a situation where those big market college football programs can write those big checks and they can pull players in. But ultimately, just by the virtue of the fact that you're in a conference and the whole legal components of what the NCAA is trying to do and the battles here, there is going to be a forced level of parity that happens among those schools. It doesn't include anybody lower than them, but among those schools, just for the competitive nature of it, they are going to find a way to create some place of parity in the same way that they've done it in all the other professional sports. That means a low market team. That's why they got a 53-man roster. Only everybody has to have the same, and that is why the salary caps do exist. They are going to eventually get to a point where they do the same thing because they don't want that money to get so out of hand that they can't control what's going on. That's what capitalists do. They are always thinking about that bottom line. And I promise you, some of these big benefactors at X university and some at this university are gonna have their little meetings, and we're gonna say we got to shut this down. We got to calm this down, folk, because we can't have this school over here running willy-nilly, and this school over here is forced to try to keep up with it. I promise you that's going to happen. It always does, because that's how capitalism operates in this nation.
Well, I think You're absolutely right. I'm not going to argue with you on that point. But I'm going to say this, Charles. If you look at everything that we just talked about and all the things that are going on right now, where I want to know, how can Southern Miss, Marshall, Grambling, Alcorn, Jackson State, Southeast Missouri, Southeast Louisiana, you got all these schools right here. Now, we love football. All of us on here love football.
Yeah. And we're all linked.
So how do we keep those schools from going in the graveyard with all this other stuff we talking about, with all this money right here? I mean, do we turn those schools into a farm system for the Big Ten?
They already are, basically.
I mean, we already have, but what I'm saying, so tell me what's going to happen to those schools.
We've already been through this. That happened. You know, let's
and they will always have students to play.
Exactly.
What about revenue is what I'm saying, bro.
You know, look, us Jacksonians are claiming a Heisman Trophy winner right now because of that.
Oh, here we go.
I'm telling you.
Here we go.
I mean, and look, but that's what happened.
That dude wasn't as good as Giovanni Gibson. What do you even mean?
You came to us for 2 years.
We talk about Jackson State, man.
You go to Colorado, and then
I'm all good on Giovanni Gibson. Say what you say, Charles?
I say he came. Those boys came to us for 2 years. Well, one of them did. One of them was just 1 year, but the other one came to us for 2 years, and then they go to Colorado and show out. I mean, that's kind of the way it's going to be for the smaller institutions.
But how do they market that? How do they market? How do they market? How do UAPB? Let's just say Giovanni Gibson comes to OU and wins a damn national receiver award.
Right. He wins the Biletnikoff Award.
Yeah, he wins that. How do UAPB? How do they spend that? They don't really have the media to do that. No, tell me how they spend that. You're in communications. Tell me how you spend that.
Well, it really depends on, at the end of the day, how, and I mentioned this earlier, it really depends on the craftiness and the skill base of your coaching and your athletic departments that you operate in, that you're selling these individual students on access and opportunity. Let's say, you come across a kid who's sitting in the portal and he's a great athlete. And none of the big boys is looking at this kid, and they're just sitting there waiting on somebody to come to them, and nobody showed up. And then all of a sudden you see that talent and you go to that kid and you sit down and you talk with him. Come to us, give us your 2 years. We just need you. We need you. And when you do make a decision, if you make the decision to leave, we will support you in every manner. But look, I got a winning program over here that gets national television games. I'm not in the SEC, but you got an opportunity for the world to see you. We've got a culture here that you're going to love because you're going to enjoy being a part of it. No one who has not spent their time on an HBCU campus, you end up falling in love with it, even if there are certain things that you're just not going to have that State and Ole Miss have. But you got a way, an existence, and a culture there that is a part of your whole campaign. That's how you sell your institution.
Yeah,
that's how we sell it to students every single day. Because not only are we competing with student athletes, we're competing with students across the board. My goodness, Mississippi State and Ole Miss and USM literally have more African American students than Alcorn and Mississippi Valley.
No doubt. Without a doubt. And then a lot of people don't realize that.
And then on top of that, we may have more because we're a little bit larger than those other schools, but not much more. Meaning that they're equalizing us at this particular point.
Oh man,
I was going to say the Southern Miss has more black minority students than Jackson State has of whole enrollment.
Well, here, this is the conversation, guys, that I've had with a lot of different people about what's coming to college football. Me and Jason talks about it a lot. The things that are changing. we're watching things change in Oklahoma that, people not used to.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? That they're not used to. And things are going to continue to change. You got fan bases that are upset because their team is, not number one, not number two. As good as Kirby Smart has been, I seen a post the other day said it's time for Kirby to go. What kind of bullshit is that?
Well,
hey, look, they ought to be going through what the hell we're going through in Oklahoma. And you talking about getting rid of Kirby?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
That's not going to resolve their problem.
It's not going to resolve the problem. It's with these coaches, I don't think that you can just get rid of a coach as quick as you could 2 or 3 years ago with all the stuff that's going on, all the stuff that's in the courts, everything that's coming down the pipe. We got Sooner fans that want to get rid of BV right now. Some saying keep him. My thing about it is I love Coach BV. You understand what I'm saying? But you got a fan base out there that want to hang him, and a lot of stuff is not his fault. But people are looking at money. When it comes down to money, it does not matter who you are. If the money drops, you got to go. Right. That's in any institution around the country.
Well, I guess my thing is a lot of these institutions with these long histories of winning programs, the Oklahomas, the Alabamas, the Georgia, even though Georgia's kind of new to the win world. I mean, they act like they have a great history of winning when Georgia is not the winning. They didn't do a doggone thing really until Kirby Smart showed up. Last time they had a championship team was in 1980. So, I don't even want to hear that.
Spin it.
I don't even want to hear all that yickety yak about
Hey, them Georgia Bulldogs don't want to hear that either.
D-U-M-B-B-Y.
Yeah,
just
I call them Little Alabama. I call them Little Alabama.
Hey, I'm telling you. So
Little Alabama. Little Alabama. What you say about? I don't care nothing about the brand at Georgia. I don't care nothing about the brand at Georgia.
But I can understand how people feel because Oklahoma got a hell of a football history. It's insane. So they're bouncing off the walls. You
got to be your ass in some of them chats.
but here's the truth about that. Because of this transfer portal and NIL, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to stack up them horses the way you used to. Alabama can't do it. You're not going to be able to do it. Nobody's going to be able to do it. Now it's going to come down to how
maybe not quite as deep, but they're still going to be able to stack them up because they have more resources than the other guys.
Okay, they might be among each other. You're right. Let me say this: as compared to the smaller programs, they'll stack up. But when it comes to at the end of the day, what it takes to win that national championship, that is going to be that little window of parity between those big horses. I'm not talking about everybody else because their benches are going to be better than everybody else in the country. They're going to be better than a Utah. They're going to be better than a Texas Tech. That's no question that those programs will be monsters. But
we're going to be better than Texas Tech every day of the week.
Those top 8 programs or 9 programs, that's where the parity lies within the structure. Alabama's not going to win 5 championships in 7 years. That ain't going to happen. Those days are over.
And
that's what I'm really talking about.
The recruiting surface,
right,
is changing also.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, I know kids are going for money. Don't get me wrong. We know that's the number one thing. But kids are going where they can play.
They can get a check
and get on the field, because if they get on the field, they make more what? More money.
More moolah.
Money.
That's right.
And guess what? Here's the thing that me and Jason have talked about on his show.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't perform, guess what? They're not going to pay you.
No.
If you're not available, they're not going to pay you.
Mm-hmm.
We have went through that, have we not, Jason?
Yeah. Well, no, I think that it's clear. I was just saying to Benji and the other guys in the chat right now. most of the guys from these bigger programs are not, they're getting in the portal because the big program has said, we're not going to pay you the same amount of money that we pay you to get you here.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do it. Now, and then when revenue share comes, it's going to be slotted just like everything else. If you were a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, whatever, you're going to get paid accordingly to whatever they think that you're worth. And they don't have, and look, there's no guardrails on that either. They don't have to decide who they pay because they can always, the big guys can supplement with NIL. And that's what, Timothy Green's talking about. It's making it a little more even. No, it's making it even now because you have to be able to pay X amount of money, but you haven't been forced to pay any amount of money until now. The rev share changes that. Now, no matter what happens, if you want to play for the big prize, the college football playoff championship, you have to buy into the $22 million, which will only get bigger as the revenue continues to go up. So that's going to cut into your NIL money. That's going to cut into your NIL money if you're West Virginia, Timothy. If you're Oklahoma, it don't. If you're Alabama, it don't. If you're Texas, if you're Notre Dame, that's not cutting into a damn thing that they have. Nothing.
Markel.
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you right now, bro, I don't envy you.
I lose a lot of sleep, trust me.
I do not envy you, homeboy, because I have a son that's playing in it, although he's a freshman. So we're kind of already in it. Your son is a sophomore, right?
Yes, sir.
About time he get to be a senior. Oh my God, I don't know what the hell will be going on.
Well, it's going to change this year with the revenue pay.
So what else?
It changes this year when they start getting revenue pay.
Yeah.
So
and, I mean, and I'm like Charles. I hate to use the word trickle down, but it's some stuff gonna happen in high school football that's gonna change in the next year or two. You got some places, some schools, some states, are letting athletes get paid already in high school.
I was getting ready to say, aren't there some kids getting some money from in their high school years?
I don't know what the deal was with Deuce Knight down on the coast. They ended up going to Auburn. He ended up getting some kind of a deal. And I don't know what that was. I don't know the law in Mississippi on the NIL deal. I don't, because it was Isaiah came out and it was kind of new to it. But man, you got places like Florida, California, some of these other states, man, that are going to look appealing to some of these athletes, and they might leave Mississippi to go play in a state that will allow them to make money. That's coming next.
Well, I guess the thing that blows my mind is we don't factor in the reality of a player's growth. And let's talk about high school kids. 9th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. You might have a kid who is showing out in the 8th and 9th grade that just seem like they're on that football field or on that basketball court wearing out seniors. And then as time goes on, they may continue in that growth. And then some of those kids sometimes don't. Some of them peaked so early. And then you start talking about giving NIL money to some young kid at that stage of their life. And they are because you think about why the NFL doesn't let these guys come out of college early to play pro ball because they're not physically ready for it.
Well,
mentally ready.
Or mentally ready. So you factor that in with a high school kid who it's like, and then on top of those late bloomers, this kid who was on the team 8th, 9th grade and they were average. Then out of nowhere, 11th grade year, something happens. Or even 12th grade year, something happens. And the next thing you know, they're a 4 or 5 star. Where the hell did that come from?
Somebody do a David Robinson.
It's all over the place. So I don't know.
David Robinson grew 4 or 5 inches in 1 year.
Yeah, so I don't know where we go with this. I just know
so in other words, you saying you don't know where we draw the line is what you saying.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know where we draw the lines with this stuff. We're moving at the speed of sound with so much of what's going on with this
man said we're moving at the speed of sound. That's crazy as hell, but you might be right about that.
I mean, that's where it is. That's where we are. So that's why I'm not freaking out about it, because I'm like, okay, they're going to get their $40 million. How long is that going to last? How long is that going to last for these schools in this small window of schools who get this crazy amount of money? Somebody going to wake up and say, okay, hold up.
You're absolutely right. Jason, you about to say something?
I was just saying, I mean, we're talking about what ifs and stuff, but I just put in the chat again. Michigan just talked about, in addition to that revenue share that we're talking about, we're talking $22 million, which that gets you in the club. That don't pay for your drinks. That don't pay for any of the rest of the stuff once you get there. That gets you in the club.
That don't get you a lap dance or nothing.
Nothing. The point is that's Michigan just talked about that within 2 years, they're expecting their yearly NIL payout to be $55 million.
Ooh.
That's almost $80 million just to be in the club.
To be in the club.
Just for that year. And so if you're gonna continue to compete for the best athletes, you have to be one of those guys that make the most money. And there's only, look, you're talking about 70. I think there's more like 40. And there may be more like 30, 20.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because none of these guys are going to just sit there and look, if you think Alabama wants to be mid-level with anybody, Indiana, for instance,
they spoil.
They're not okay with that shit.
They spoil, bro. They're ready to spend some money.
By the way, neither is Michigan Ohio State. Yeah,
they're ready to spend some money.
Let me give you this analogy right quick, and we're talking about this resources and this money in these 20 schools. Whenever you allow in any economic system, whenever you allow a small percentage of people to consume all of the wealth, what does that happen to the rest of the world? What happens to everybody else? It creates a place for revolution, because now you have got 1% controlling 90% of its wealth.
It's always been that way, though.
I know it, but whenever
it was like that when we first started talking about the NFL,
there is a process that goes with that. That's always happened, but soon after that happens, something else happens. Absolute revolution and control. If you don't want to deal with it, go talk to the French and let them tell you about what happened to Marie Antoinette.
Damn, Charles.
You went deep in the bag.
Don't tell me about these
man,
everybody's gonna be okay with this. This country is going through that. When you allow this small group of people to take every nickel and dime, what does that happen to everybody else? You can't do that. You got to have balance.
There's not going to be balance, though. That's the thing. There's not going to be Charles, because it ain't Alabama that's doing it. It's ESPN and Fox. Who's going to change that? They get to decide that.
Nobody.
Well,
Keith Swivel said nobody.
I promise you. Turn off look. Let somebody turn off their TV and let's see what ESPN and Alabama and what and.
I hear people say that a lot. I hear people say that.
They're not going to do that.
The revenue continue to rise, though.
Yeah.
Okay. You talk about ESPN. Let's talk about the other elephant in the room, Netflix. Okay, you got all this money ESPN throwing there. Netflix coming in through the back door, guys. So wait a minute, let me in this party.
But
like somebody trying to
I can tell you a story. I can tell you a story about Netflix though. Netflix was going up, gobbling off all the revenue, and they were making movies and doing all this stuff to build that network. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, became a big strike in the film and television industry, and then the economy started to have some play and sway. Netflix kind of cooled that down. They quit spending all that money because they realized there was nothing else. There was nowhere else to go with that. Yeah, they're jumping into it because they're experimenting with the sports market because they knew they had to go somewhere else because the money on this side wasn't producing the same way. Everything has ebbs and flows. That's my point.
Yeah, you're right
There's
about
ebbs
that.
and flows.
But they're always
college football.
there's always going to be competition.
And then it's going to be college football going down and down and down. Watch. Give it
Well,
time.
you got okay. I'm gonna say this:
48, and I've never seen it happen. It's gotten bigger and bigger since I started watching this game, and I think it's gotten bigger and bigger. That's the point. The evolution of this game is people are pissed off about it, and I get it. And I'm not even saying that I'm okay with the way that things are all the way. I don't think that there should be that you're cutting off half of the 130 teams. I'm not saying that I'm okay with that. What I'm telling you is that as long as the product on the field is look, they're going to do well with continuing to put those brands out there that are drawing the numbers. I think Georgia and Notre Dame was like third of the four in how many eyes it drew the other day out of the quarterfinals.
Right.
The third out of the 4 games, but it was still 20 million eyes almost. I mean,
that's the number one game.
I want to say Ohio State and Oregon.
Ohio State, okay.
Yeah.
Ohio State.
Well, guys, check this out. You want to talk about being left behind and how things become more advanced, and if you don't get on the train, you're gonna get left behind. Mm-hmm. When I was in high school, there was a brand by the name of Russell. Was the top brand.
I remember everybody
was the top brand in all of college sports or all of high school sports.
Yeah, because I had my brand jerseys. Yeah.
And there was a little company. I want to say they were out of South Carolina by the name of Under. And you know, some of the board members was telling Russell, "Hey, look, we need to do some different things. They're coming out with these different jerseys, and man, they stretch and they do all this right here." Russell's like, "Hey, we're the biggest brand in college football. We're the biggest brand in football, period, in the U.S. They can't touch us."
Yep.
What happened?
They got touched.
They got touched.
Yeah.
And guess what? But guess who said, "Okay, we're a shoe company, but I like what they're doing." Mm-hmm. And they stepped into it. Mm-hmm. That was Nike. Nike got bigger. Under Armour got bigger. Mm-hmm. Where is Russell Athletics right now?
Exactly.
If you got a pair of drawers on that said Fruit of the Looms, you're wearing them. Because that's who owns Russell Athletics.
It's Fruit of the Looms.
Fruit of the Looms.
They bought them up.
There's some drawers now.
Some draw.
They've been changed and everything right now.
Well, I mean, but
it was not.
You make it
dance to the doggone beat of the drum.
Right. But you make it a strong point of what I was trying to make. Is this that everything that goes up will come down.
That's true.
And it will evolve. It will evolve into something that you had no idea that this is where it was coming from.
Well, but Nick Saban said this: if you don't evolve, you're gonna die, just like the dinosaurs.
That's true.
Right. And I think
if you, that's what I'm saying. You gotta evolve. If you don't, you're gonna be left behind. Russell just got left behind. Exactly. College football in Nike and Under Armour and all other kind of brands are steadily going.
Yeah. I would ask this. I think that if you have death of anything, it'd be like a certain network. Say ESPN gets bought up because they're not like, and we've seen ESPN has had some issues lately, right? But they're trying to grab market share and get more. But I think they're just doing all this for Apple, to be quite honest with you. I think they're doing it all for Apple because Disney's in trouble a little bit. That'll be the part that hurts. It'll be who is buying it. I don't see. I mean, as long as you continue to see the numbers of viewers rising, which we see more and more every year, the money's not going to go away. It's just going to be who's in charge of the money, moving it to here and there and here and there. And the schools, it's too rich to die. This is the way I look at it. It's too rich to die. They will evolve how they have to do it because they have to do it. And that's the one thing that when I watched you guys' show before, the one thing I said is that, hey, the one thing I see is that it's always been this way in college football. Every time there's a major change, it's the end of the sport, according to all the fans that are upset about the way things are, that it's BCS and, doing things that, when you got rid of bowl games, that was going to kill the sport. Nobody gives a shit about bowl games anymore. They just don't. Some fans do. But they only care at the university because it's a payday. Right. But in the end, as far as how many people are really watching bowl games, not that many. But I would tell you that still the eyeballs are up because of the college football playoffs. So they're evolving with what they know is working. I mean, the analytics tell you so. I don't see it really changing that. Now, who is in charge of the money and who's putting the money out there? I think that could change over and over and over again. It's still not going to change the universities making the money or who's in charge of the sport. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm directing this to Markel, and I'm coming on the corporate side because Markel has been in corporate America. So Markel, Amazon, yeah, I went there. Amazon was buying up and doing everything. You was a part of that deal when everything was going on. And what do you say right now? Looking back over the past year, maybe 2 years, there was a time, did you not think Amazon wasn't going to be touched? Did you ever think that they would have to cut that because they was gobbling up everything?
Well, they overbought. That's what they did.
So are we overbuying in college football?
Absolutely not. And I'm going to tell you why. We just mentioned Apple. Amazon is in on it. Prime is in on it. Apple hadn't touched it yet. Technology really hadn't touched football, college football yet, and it's coming. Think about AWS with its involvement with the NFL and the analytics and the stats. It's coming to college. So the streams, there's still a lot of money streams available in football, in particularly college football, because that's where all the experiments take place.
So you saying there's other monies out there on the table that's going to cover some of this cost? That's what you're saying.
Think about this. College football has been successful for over 100 years. And ESPN, CBS, they keep the drama week to week. Think about when we grew up. The national champ was voted. They had to vote for a national champ. Now that's prehistoric, but that wasn't too long ago.
2000.
Then we moved then we went BCS, playoffs, and now the tournament. We just getting started. I think college football is healthy. It's very healthy. And again, these institutions, they already have the answers to the questions that we're asking. They already know what's going to happen. We just sitting back. We just going along for the ride.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Everything
Brother Charles, you trying to comment on something, man. Go ahead.
No, I'm thinking about what y'all are saying. And I do agree that I guess you could say what they refer to as the tech bros. The tech bros have not really jumped into this as soon as, well, they're coming into it slowly. Once they get in, I can see ESPN and whatnot, because those companies are going through some ebbs and flows. And with Prime and all these other places getting involved in this arena, because they're already in pro football, and they're also in soccer, because now they're trying to turn soccer into an international, trying to bring it more into the U.S. market, and the European soccer to the U.S. market.
you got
there's a lot
programs
going
like
on
Catapult.
there.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
But you got programs like Catapult that's measuring your measurables in live while you're running. Right? They want to know how fast you're going. You're going
we use them
21 miles an hour,
bro.
22 miles an hour. You know, the 40 time is kind of getting outdated because they want to know your MPH opposed to just running a 40. And then people want to see it in live time. You could go on Prime on a Thursday night stream and change the point of view of which you watch the game. Like you're playing John Madden. Like you're playing a video game. So what I'm saying is when technology started to buy more and more into this, that's just more money.
Yeah.
You look what ESPN did with Pat McAfee. You can watch the game on ESPN. Turn that summer gun on ESPN too. You get a totally different game.
Yeah, that's true.
Pat McAfee's on the sideline. He's talking shit.
Yep.
You know, and guess what? What do we do, y'all? We pay for shit we like.
Yeah, people do that.
See,
we pay for shit we like.
And I think that's part of the reason the
Pac-12, you have more avenues to watch the game these days than you ever did.
Right. See, and it costs what money? Hey, look, I know it's $12 a month. They pay it the same way I used to go to the store and get cigarettes for my dad. 50 cents.
See, one of the reasons the Pac-12, one of the reasons the Pac-12 fell apart is because they didn't have their TV deal in order, and they were trying to work something out with Apple at the time as far as streaming. And let's just be honest, a lot of fans are slow to adapt to streaming, right? And we're talking about 3 to 5 years ago. So now people are buying into the streaming idea. I got a grandmother. She was upset one day last year. They streamed the national championship or something, and she didn't know what to do. So as the older generation kind of like move on, streaming is becoming more and more, and you're getting away from the traditional way of watching games over the air.
So in other words, just like we said, Raquel, there's so many other ways that revenue is going to be made in college football.
Yeah, I watched the game on
Peacock. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't think this loaded train going downhill is going to stop anytime soon, because they got so many tracks they can go in, bro.
See, I think we're thinking in terms of football being $1 billion industry when in fact it's probably $1 trillion industry, because everybody's paying from the time you put on your first pair of cleats and you're 6 years old. Your parents are shelling out money into a machine that's been running well for over 100 years. I know I've invested so much in my son as far as training, uniforms, travel, hotel stay. It's a whole economy on each level, and it only gets bigger on the next level you get introduced to.
So okay, you just brought up something that we should have touched on. The money that it costs to be able to go and be seen. Y'all huddle tapes, that's cool, but guys, I'm gonna tell you something. That film tape does not do it anymore, because there's so many tricks that can be done to a huddle film. It's unreal. They want to see you at camps. They want to see you at different events. But guys, you just talked about how much money you spent on your son. We went to a camp in Naples, which is FBU. If you, a parent, have to pay that $250 or $300 for that, and then you gotta buy a plane ticket for you, your son, and just say your wife. And by the time you spend hotel, plane ticket, food, and camp, you're out about $3.5 grand, maybe $4 grand. You know, there are a lot of kids get seen, but guess what? There's a lot of kids that don't get seen, and these universities miss a lot of kids. That's why you got all these 3-stars in the NFL that's future Hall of Famers, because some of them got missed because they didn't get seen. So the high school in the JUCO ranks are, but the JUCO ranks are still important. Now they're finna to be more important to me than ever, because these kids get that start. They get 2 years of becoming learning how to become a professional. And then when they get to college, it's all about being a professional. Because let me tell you something, guys, on your job, you can make a C and still get paid. As long as you do your job and you don't cause nobody to get hurt or anything like that, most jobs you're able to keep your job. But these kids, they come and their performance drop off they could go from $200,000 a year to 25, whatever they want to give them. You understand what I'm saying? So that system we talked about with the junior college, I think that system is going to be so important in the next 2 years, because I think some of these kids need a place to develop, and economically, a lot of them are not going to get a chance to be seen, and I see it every day. Jason got a kid that he knew of that played. I watched the kid film. He should have been at a D1 from the get-go. But if this kid actually thought he had 4 years to play instead of just 2 years from playing at a JUCO, he probably would try football again. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the football, yes, it's changing. It's changing in another way. It's changing, guys. Look, we all know in our community, and I'm talking about the African American community right now, that a lot of kids are getting big money. But this is what I want to say to every kid out there that's getting this money, to every parent, to every uncle, to every auntie. Instead of doing some of the things that they're doing, hey, take a kid down to a financial person, a stockbroker or something like that. Let them learn how to do penny stock. This money that these kids are getting could change the neighborhoods and the way we live and the things that are coming today. So there's a lot of things can be done. Everybody say it's the death of college football, but man, this stuff can be actually used to help communities, to help change generational wealth if we go back and do it right. So the things that are going on in college football, I love it. But there has to be a community. There have to be some guardrails. There's a lot of things that have to happen. And there's a lot of more avenues out there, guys, that have not been touched yet when it comes to the tech world, that we're sitting up here talking about. Like you said, you got Prime, you got Apple, it's a lot of stuff out there that once they figure out how they can make money off of it, it's coming.
Well, and even ESPN and Fox are investing in streaming platforms to be able to put it out in a different way, because so many people have cut the cable cord. So
yeah, I was getting ready to say that's a major change in the whole industry, is cutting the cable cord.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a major factor. People are looking
at cable is an old technology.
Yeah,
that's part of it. The whole world is changing. We talking about data centers being built all over the country. This capacity for the Internet of Things, and sports in America plays an important role in that. And everything has to be in real time. And the only way of doing that is building data centers with fiber optics that can handle millions of subscribers at the same time. We're talking about gambling. We're talking about
gambling. That's the biggest. They
have ESPN gambling now. They have a way to gamble through ESPN, and it's all going to go through when they get done with this platform that they're working on right now. It's going to revolutionize the way that you watch sports. You'll be able to gamble at the same time that you're watching it on your phone.
Yeah, I believe you'll be able to gamble from half to half, from quarter to quarter, from minute to minute before it's all over with.
And lose all of your money, because there's a gamesmanship with that. I was reading some stuff about the foolishness with these gaming companies, sports gaming, and people are losing everything over it. It is ask you the most obscure questions, and I'm off the chain on this, but it's just hilarious to me. It's like, why?
Charles, they said the same thing about the casinos when they put them in Mississippi.
Yep.
And they still there.
Yep.
And people still go. And they still go down there and they eat the crab legs at the bar and pay $42 to eat down there. So I be damn, it ain't going no damn well.
Oh, I'm not saying it's going anywhere.
No, I know. I'm just saying though. What you're saying is true, but we done been through that.
Yeah.
We done been through that. Football, guys, is changing. And that's why, man, and I gotta give a shout out to Jason, man. He was on me. I'm gonna tell y'all he been on me. And I said, man, okay, we're gonna redo it. We're gonna run it back, but I appreciate people having an open mind because, guys, I don't know what the future is. We all up here, we all talking. I feel like we all level-headed, even-minded guys. But, guys, I just want to say to the fans, hold on. It's not the end of the world. Tomorrow's not, going to be the end of college football. It's going to keep changing. You just got to sit back and enjoy the ride because it's going to happen. Hey, y'all remember 1999 where everybody was getting water and cans and building bunkers and all kind of shit?
Yeah, I probably remember that.
Hey, that's what I feel like right now.
They didn't have any answer because the computer was not designed to go to 2000.
Right. We got to go. That's how I feel with college football. I feel like people are on edge, man. They're on edge, bro.
Well, but something, people are on the edge about everyday life living right now. So that's kind of college football falls right in line with that. I just think the college football as we know it will end for some. But the big boys are going to continue to do what they do. They have been around forever, and they are going to be around for as long as they want to be around. And for as long as people have
you got schools that are going. You got schools and you got conferences going to fight, and you got people that's going to be in denial. It's kind of like back when I first came into playing college football in the HBCU, which is in the late 80s and early 90s when I left, we saw the change. We thought we could stop it. Some people thought they could stop the better athletes from going to the Ole Misses, the Mississippi States, and some of the other places. But what happened? Money got involved. And when money got involved, bro, you couldn't stop it. You couldn't stop it, man. And that's what's happening right now.
Too big to fail.
You can't stop it. So what would you say, Jason?
Too big to fail.
Too big to fail. Too big to fail, bro.
And the development of social media, because a lot of those smaller schools could go to these little small towns that no one knew anybody, and next thing you know, they bring in a kid, and next thing you know, that kid has a great career and ends in the NFL. But that social media changed that. Now everybody gets looked at. They're going to go to that 1A school and see that one lone kid that's out there showing up and showing out. Because that's how Alcorn got theirs. That's how Jackson State got theirs. We were getting people that nobody was paying attention to.
But let me ask you this, Charles. How many college coaches do you think was watching the FCS National Championship and saying, I could use that guy?
Oh, there were some. There were probably all those coaches who were sitting at home watching football because they're not in the national championship were thinking, okay, what is it I need to do to get my program in the right spot?
What about G5 teams that could use the Lance kid or some of those other kids on that team? And you got some schools like Louisville, they're G5, but they got money.
Yeah.
So what if say, you know what? I need that cornerback.
Yeah.
I need him. I could give him $50,000 a year. He's probably not getting but $1,000 a month stifling from over here.
Well, yeah, that's going to happen.
Yeah. So
we're already hearing some of these coaches are talking about, the Boise State coach was talking about people already hunting down some of his players.
Well,
he was on there screaming about that.
That's going to happen. So I'm gonna direct this to Jason and you, Markel. Agents. And Markel, we talked about this. Your son is coming up, mine is in. And these agents have free range to contact any kid.
Mm-hmm.
They can go contact Oregon's coach and say, hey, look, I got a corner that's looking to transfer.
Mm-hmm.
He don't have to be in the portal, guys.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking to transfer in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Here's his film. Here's his PFF. Tell me what you think and how much you'll pay for him.
Mm-hmm.
So when is the NCAA gonna put some guardrails on these damn agents? Because I think that will stop a lot of the damn portal shit. Because they have unlimited resources, to any player. And then you got kids coming out of high school like Markel Jr. Markel ain't got to have an agent, but he damn sure can call his dad right now and talk to his dad and say, hey, look, man, we're going to put you, I think your son, we can get your son $350. He's going to get 30% of that $350. But he can make deals all over the doggone country. And is that fair?
No,
is that fair?
There's no such thing as fair.
Yeah, right. There's no such thing.
But I will
what
say
does
this.
fair even mean?
What you say, Jason?
What does fair even mean? I don't even
it
know.
Doesn't mean a damn thing.
At the end of the day, the NCAA is a dinosaur. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
And number two,
yeah, we've all said that.
I for one, I recommend representation as a high school parent. Do your due diligence, because the right agent, the right people know the right people. They have the connections. They know what's going on behind closed doors. That's why these GMs are at these schools. It would be foolish as a parent. I know my limitations. I can't go and negotiate a college deal. As much as I think I know, I can't do it. And I need some help. But I would recommend parents to do their due diligence, because I would highly recommend representation, but not at 30%.
No. Well, here's the deal, bro. And I'm open. Me and my wife, we done Isaiah's. But the thing about it is, he's young. He's a freshman. It's kind of like going into the NBA. Not NBA, but the NFL, NBA, or whatever. Just being a rookie, all in general. There's some things that you know, and there's some things that you don't know. Now, you can get an agent, or you can hire a lawyer to look at the contract and say, okay, I want to know what this paragraph means. This paragraph, I want to go to paragraph E, the third section in E. I want to know what those mean. And you have to pay him maybe $200 or $300 or whatever, but the lingo he can translate to you. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm saying that you can do it if you are a football guy or a person who understands contracts. You understand what I'm saying? Now, a girl working at Walmart, her son a 4-star, she don't have much education. And no knock on anybody that working at Walmart. I don't want to hear that shit in the comments. I don't want to hear, well, he was talking about Walmart. I ain't doing. But I'm just saying, if you're not that person,
but Mark, look,
you're not that person, you might need an agent. I'm just saying.
But I agree with you on a certain extent. But there's still conversations taking place that these agents know people, and they could leverage more for your son, more than what you probably could, because the relationships are there from prior players they may already represent.
Well. Let me. I'm gonna give you something that's. I'm gonna cook right now.
Okay.
So there's a legendary agent in the state of Mississippi right now. who has handled Brett Favre and a bunch of others. He has some kids right now, but they're all new to this college stuff because I've talked to them. They don't have the back door like they have to the NFL. They hadn't unlocked it yet. There's a lot of things that they don't understand. Mm-hmm. Now, you got a lot of college guys that are lawyers that are 29, 31, 32 years old that are former athletes. Those guys are really, to be honest with you, those guys are more helpful than the guys that are handling NFL guys right now. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm watching these NFL agents, because it's handled different. There's different rules than they are in the NFL. The NFL got rules. Ain't no damn rules in college football.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So what I am saying, I'm not disputing nothing that you're saying. What I am saying, you can take a lawyer. Well, I'm talking about money now. I'm not talking about what's going on. I'm talking about money. I'm talking about just straight dollars, straight contracts. What your son can, what your son can't do, what are his perks and all that kind of stuff. You can get a lawyer. You can, because I know you. You can get a lawyer and sit down with him and go over that contract and save yourself a whole bunch of damn money.
Oh, I agree with you with that. I totally agree. But when you're talking about that initial NIL deal, right? And let's just say you got Ohio State, USC, and you got Michigan, and they all want you. And this particular agent that you have has relationships and players that he's negotiated deals with at these schools.
I got you.
He can create the leverage of, say, I want X amount. Well, we could get that. And he could create that leverage and get that. Now, as far as sitting down with a lawyer, going through a contract, that's your due diligence. Even with said agent, you still should get an outside opinion, right?
That's right. Because a lot of agents are,
as we all know, as football guys, right?
That's what they're in the business of doing.
But we know all of this is relationship driven as well. And that's the key ingredient, is what relationships do you have? What entry do you have with the relationships that you yourself have or your representation has? And that's what you're leveraging, is the relationships to put yourself in the best situation. Because I, for one, I kind of really want to know what percent of the carries we're going to get as a freshman.
Well,
and a sophomore. What's the journey to the NFL?
Well, here's the thing. The general managers would love, I heard more than one say it, would love to say, this is what we're paying this kid. They want it to be on the table. They want people to see what these kids are getting paid. They do.
I know some kids with representation that have got more than what the parents expected. And I know some kids with no representation that have gotten great deals. But I hear a lot more and know a lot more without representation get lowballed. And I hear that a lot.
That depends on who's your parents, who's speaking for you. They may not have representation as far as an attorney / agent or whatever, but having a conversation with Marcus or you that knows the game, knows that side of it, you know, been there, played at a certain level. Marcus played, you know, at a high level. His wife played at a high level in college sports. They know and understand the professional side of the game a lot more than a lot of other parents would. That, you know, that they should absolutely have representation. I don't know that, you know, somebody in there said 98% of kids don't need it. 98% of kids aren't going to Alabama and Georgia and Texas and Oklahoma and places, or Ohio State. 98% of them aren't. We're talking college football here, folks. If you are wanting to go with the big boys, you better have somebody that is going to give you the right deal. If you make it to Oklahoma and you don't have an agent, that's one thing. And you may even get a good deal off the rip because of what your rankings are as a high school kid. But after that first year, look and see how that goes if you don't have representation then and you didn't put up big numbers.
Oh yeah.
I'll say this, Marcus, and I've said this to one of my best friends. I used to tell him all the time. Everybody is not as smart as you are.
I ain't smart, bro.
No, but you're smart enough to
Put
know
me in that category.
But you're smart enough to know this game and how to go about doing certain things and play within that. Everybody's not going to come to the table with that. So somebody's going to have that agent. Somebody's going to have representation.
And I'll say this as a parent, is it really just one guarantee I want? Is guarantee that no matter what, we get to continue our education. So if you want my son off the team, well, you still gonna honor the education part of it. That's the most important thing.
That's something that's not talked about. That's something that's not talked about.
Yeah, and that part gets lost. But I know of people who have those situations set up in certain schools where if there's no forcing,
it used to have to be set up that way, right? It used
to
have
that way at school.
We gotta have the education part guaranteed. Like
that's how your APR numbers and all of that are wrapped up into how that operates.
Well, Charles, I'm gonna say this, Charles. I appreciate you giving me that credit. I did not graduate magna cum laude. I graduated thank you laude. So I'm gonna tell you right now.
Look, bro, I'm working on it.
I'm gonna keep it.
I graduated undergrad thank you, Lordy. So I was one of them thank you, Lordy. Look at me, how the heck are you doing that now? But
I'm gonna say this, guys. We've been going for a while. We're gonna get ready to get out of here. But I'm gonna say this, guys. Everything that we talked about tonight. You got a lot of people out here, it's doomsday to them. It's just like everything else that has come about a change. I remember watching George Jetson. Shit, everything on the damn Jetsons now has come to pass. Pretty much.
Pretty much so, yeah.
You know, from the damn watches, now they got little cars you can get your ass in and fly across town to pretty much everything. So we can't be afraid of change because college football, guys, have been changing since day one. It's just hit warp speed.
Evolution.
The evolution of college football is here. It's always been here, and it's going to continue until we're long gone. That's just a part of it, you know. And like I say, man, I appreciate everybody, man, for coming in tonight and being on the show, man. All the people in the chat, man, we appreciate you guys from coming in and sharing your opinions. And hey, man, look here, Jason. I appreciate you, bro.
Man, I appreciate you guys. This is fun.
I appreciate you, man.
This was fun tonight.
I appreciate you, man. And Markel, you being able to give us a side of it, you know, that, you know, you walking through some waters right now, just uncharted for us, you know, guys. So, you know, we appreciate you, bro.
And thank you for having me.
Definitely appreciate you, man. But we're finna get ready to get out of here, man. And like I said,
make sure you tell everybody how to find you and stuff.
Yeah, man. I was just gonna say, man, y'all go to Gridiron Insight. Go to Marcus Dent 93 on Twitter. That's pretty much me, man. I do everything pretty much off Twitter. Charles, tell them where to find you again, bro.
Okay, I'm Instagram. That's Charles Anthony Smith. I also got about my my TikTok page. Basically, it's Charles A. Smith. You can find me there. That's where you'll find me talking a lot about politics and whatnot. All right. That's my thing.
All right. Markel, where you be, brother?
Michael 7 Mile on Twitter.
my boy Markel. Hit him up, Jason, man. Tell him where to find you, bro.
Hey, you know where to find me. You can find me at it's at HOF-CFB right here on YouTube. We go about 3 days a week in the morning time, and we go about 3 days a week at night or more. We're always on here. You find us somewhere. You find us somewhere. So make sure you guys get over there and get subscribed to the Gridiron Insight. That's where you're going to find Michael and Marcus Dent. And a lot of times you're going to find Charles on there as well. So make sure, hey, these guys have amazing shows, and every one of them that I've seen. I mean, I was bugging. I was on his bumper. I was on Marcus's bumper. Hey,
the hell out of it.
On this show, I want to be on this one, and I think it was. I don't know that we got a lot of it, I guess, discussed about it. But I think you're going to see a lot of big changes even in the next few years. You can't recognize the sport from 5 years ago, so you're not probably going to recognize it 5 years from now either. But I do believe that these guys are right at the tip of the spear of what's going to happen. So stay tuned. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks a lot for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, man. Hey, I appreciate you coming on, man. We appreciate you. We're gonna run it back, YouTube. Promise you that. We're gonna run it back. Hey, look, haven't told y'all a happy new year, man. Happy new year to all. Hey, peace.